Hi everyone, I'm Susie Dills. I'm the director of the Hoover Price Planetarium at the William McKinley Presidential Library and Museum. And welcome to Astro Adventures. And this is for the week of April 8th through April 14th. And the first thing I want to talk about is coming up this week, we're going to be celebrating the 50-year anniversary of Apollo 13. And here in this picture, you can see Commander James Lovell, Command Module Pilot John Swigert, and then Lunar Module Pilot Fred Hayes. So the crew of Apollo 13, they launched on April 11th, 1970, and it was intended to be the third mission to land on the moon. But 2 days into the mission, an oxygen tank exploded and the lunar landing was aborted. So they never landed on the surface of the moon. And the explosion crippled the service module, which the command module depended upon. And remarkably, despite limited power, loss of cabin heat, shortage of potable water, and the critical need to make makeshift repairs to the carbon dioxide removal system, the crew landed safely on Earth on April 17, 1970. So this mission, tragedy to triumph, 50 years ago we celebrate Apollo 13. And we talked a lot last week about the wonderful pairing of the planet Venus and the lovely cluster in our western sky, the Seven Sisters, the Pleiades. Well, I have a few photos to share with you from members of the Cuyahoga Astronomical Association. They were out doing some astrophotography. This photo was courtesy of Matt Frenduto. Boy, look at Venus just blazing there, and then you could see kind of the bluish colored stars. Those represent the stars in the cluster in the Pleiades. And then this photo is courtesy of David Watkins. And once again, you can see Venus just blazing, and just below that you can see that little cluster of stars. I sure hope you had a chance to get out and take a look at that. And then this photo, courtesy of Alan Studd, and you can see, look at the detail on that waxing gibbous moon. But thank you, Alan. That is an incredible photo. And actually, I was out too last week, had my telescope out, and I was out looking at the moon and all the finer details. So once again, thank you, folks from Cuyahoga Astronomical Association, for sharing your images of some of the spectacular sights last week. And I wanted to talk about a fun activity you can get out and do with your family. Over the next several weeks, weather's going to be getting warmer. You got a little bit of time to get out. Maybe you can walk, ride your bike, hop in the car, find a location where you have a nice clear western view. And what you want to do is you want to just keep track of the sunset position over those next several weeks as we head towards the summer solstice. So on the equinox back on March 19th, our sun set due west. And now every night since that time, our sun has been setting a little bit farther north of west. So could be fun, go out, maybe you could take pictures, maybe there's landmarks you can remember where the position is, maybe you can draw pictures, kind of start a little collage as you're watching the sun's movement as we approach the summer solstice, when the sun will set the farthest point north of due west. So get out there, give that a try. It's a lot of fun. And of course you can do that for sunrise if you're an early morning riser. Get up and take pictures of where the sunrise position is. So get out there, give it a try. It's kind of fun to watch how the sun changes as we head through the weeks. And let's talk about the visible planets now. With our human eyes, we can see 5 planets. So I'd like to talk about those, the planets quite often, and how you can find those in the night sky or morning sky. We can see Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. with just our human eyes. We do need the aid of a telescope for Uranus and Neptune, but I'm going to share with you in a few minutes how we can find whether you're a night owl or an early bird, you're going to have a planet show to see. But let's talk about the planets, their order from the sun, a little bit about the planets, how far apart they are, the sizes in comparison. It's kind of fun to look at. So you can see, of course, if we head off the sun there, we're going to visit our terrestrial planets first. And if we want to compare the size too of the sun before we start heading off to the planets, look at the size of our star. The sun is huge compared to the planets, and it's not even the biggest star out there. It's only an average size star. But look at the size compared to, and you could see Jupiter, you could see where Earth, the arrow is to planet Earth, and look at little teeny tiny Pluto you can hardly see. But that just gives you that comparison of the size of our sun in as far as mass goes for our solar system. And our sun is in control. It holds all the planets in their orbits because it just has a lot of gravity associated with it. But once again, that's our comparison. All right, let's head off from the sun. We're going to visit those terrestrial planets first. You can see Mercury looks quite a bit like the moon, has virtually no atmosphere, so it gets bombarded a lot by space rock. It's not the hottest planet out there because it has virtually no atmosphere. During the day, it's just scorching, but once it rotates around away from the sunlight, all that heat just goes right off into space. So it's either extremely hot or extremely cold on Mercury. Venus, on the other hand, is our hottest planet. We talked about it over the last several weeks about those very thick clouds. In this image, you can see they don't have the thick cloud pattern around Venus, but we'll see Venus in a few minutes with the clouds that surround it that reflect all the sunlight. But all those clouds do is trap in a lot of heat, so it's always about 800 degrees on Venus, just scorching. And then you can see our lovely planet Earth, the only planet that we know of that has life. We have water, we have air to breathe. It's just right, just perfect. And then, of course, you can see the red planet, you can see Mars. So we call these the terrestrial planets. They're rocky, made of metals and minerals. They're not as large as our gas giants. So let's check out the gas giants now. You can see planet Jupiter, the king of the planets. That's our largest planet in the solar system, followed by lovely Saturn with the ring system. Then you have Uranus and Neptune. They're not quite as big as Jupiter and Saturn, but certainly they're larger than the terrestrials. And then, of course, I have to mention Pluto real quick because everyone always asks me about Pluto. We love Pluto. We still love to talk about Pluto. Pluto is now considered a dwarf planet. It was originally one of the classics, but it was just recategorized back in 2006. And like I said, we still talk about Pluto all the time. This is one of my favorite images of Pluto. We had the New Horizons mission that headed out to Pluto, and it took just an immense amount of data as it flew by this little dwarf planet. And this was one of the first images that we got back from New Horizons. So incredible. We couldn't believe the different features. Look at some of those darker areas, the brighter areas, but just phenomenal. One of my favorite features there, if you look at that bright area on Pluto, it looks like it's in the shape of a heart. So we talk about that a lot too. But we still love Pluto, but it is now just in a different category called a dwarf planet. So here's our planets, our size comparison. You can see Jupiter and Saturn just dominate. Then you can see Uranus and Neptune, and look at the terrestrials. Look at how small they are compared to the gas giants. And this might be a fun activity too. You can find things around your house to kind of scale the size of the planets. So check it out. Uranus and Neptune would be, maybe the size of a quarter. Saturn, the size of an orange. And then Jupiter, a tennis ball. And then you can see Mars would be a peppercorn. And then Earth and Venus would be a pea. And Mercury would be a sesame seed. So if you wanted to kind of have a little bit of fun around the house, try to find objects maybe about the same size as what you're seeing here in this picture. And then our sun, think about if you've ever seen one of those exercise balls, that's how big the sun would be in comparison. And just to give you an idea, we can fit 1 million planet Earths inside the sun. So, fun activity, try it with household items in the same size comparison. And then I like to talk about the size comparisons of the planets, but this, I think, surprises so many people when we talk about how far apart the planets are. And most often I'll ask if when kids come into the planetarium, if they think all the planets are evenly spaced, and they'll say no, but they don't understand, the magnitude of the distances when you get far off, just outside of Saturn. But you can see in this diagram here where our first 4 terrestrial planets, look how close they are together and to the sun. And then once you pass through the asteroid belt and head on to the gas giants, you can see Jupiter and Saturn. But look at when you're starting to get out there to Uranus and Neptune, look at how far apart those planets are from each other and from the sun. And by the way, the letters AU represent astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit represents 93 million miles. So you can kind of do the calculation by looking at the numbers there of like Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And then maybe some other fun activities you can do. Maybe you want to pull up some facts about all the planets and maybe make a planet flag, or how about a travel brochure for a planet? And something that's kind of fun to do, and I've done this before, is something called a planet fashion show. Research the features about the planet and what would you wear if you were on that planet, and just look around your house and have a little bit of fun, and just do a little fashion show, and everybody could be a different planet. A couple websites you see here if you want to know your weight or age on all the planets. You can just type it in on these websites and it'll tell you. Of course, places like the moon are pretty cool because we weigh about 1/6 of what we weigh here on planet Earth, because it just has less gravity. And then I often talk a lot about Celestia. That's the 3D solar system tour that you can download free from the internet, and maybe that'll help you with your planet travel brochure or planet fashion show. So check out those activities. Okay, here's Venus again with clouds. So just real quick recap of the position of our planets. So this is in the evening sky after sundown. So if you head out about 30 minutes after the sun sets, remember you might have gone out and checked out the sunset position and you're heading back home. You're going to look up high in the sky in the west and you're going to see a brilliant object. That's Venus, but it's going to be around at least 4 hours after sundown. So you've got plenty of time to enjoy this dazzling gem. And then for our morning show lineup, we have Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And what's going to be pretty cool coming up On the 14th through the 16th of April, the moon is going to be paying a visit. So it'll start off with Mars. On the 14th, the moon will be close by Mars. Then on the 15th, we'll have the moon and Saturn together there. And then on the 16th, it'll be getting close to where Jupiter is in the pre-dawn sky. So if you're an early bird, you want to get out and check that out. The moon will help you find those 3 planets for the 14th through the 16th. And just real quick, also, and then of course our Western fabulous constellations, Orion, Taurus, Sirius, the Dog Star. Here's our patterns once again. I hope you got out and used your checklist last week. And then of course we know we just draw that line down to Sirius, Orion's best friend. And then you can see our northern constellations, Big Bear, Little Bear, Cassiopeia. And then here's our patterns. And then if we just draw the line from the 2 stars at the end of the cup of the Big Dipper, we come to Polaris or the North Star. And then eastward, looking high up in the sky, we have Big Bear and Leo. And soon to be following, arcing to Arcturus and speeding to Spica. Star hopping hint to Leo, use the flat part of the cup of the Big Dipper, head over to that backwards question mark. And then remember, we have star maps up on the William McKinley Presidential Library Facebook page, and also the April checklist. So be sure to pull those up, print them out, get out there and enjoy the night sky. We should be seeing more clearer nights as we're heading through springtime here. So a couple important things. We got the Facebook page for the museum, or also my website is starrytrails.com. You can visit that. I also wanted to point out nasa.gov because on the website for NASA, you're going to be able to get on and see the images of all the latest space missions. So whether it be Curiosity on Mars or InSight, we're going to have Perseverance going up this year, or the Juno mission out there by Jupiter. You can go back and look at images from New Horizons as it flew by Pluto and Pluto's moons, and also one of my favorite missions, the Cassini mission that visited Saturn. Just fabulous images, though, up on the NASA site. So be sure to check that out. So, and then on my website, of course, you got the checklist, the star maps, you got the audio. So get out there and enjoy because the weather's getting warmer and we just have spectacular sights, evening sky, or get out there to pre-dawn. And I want to thank everyone for coming out. We'll see you next week.